The most dangerous lie you've ever believed is that you are an observer in the wild. You step off the asphalt and into the shade of the canopy, thinking you've entered a place of peace, but you've actually just stepped into a throat that has been open for millions of years. Every breath you take in the deep forest is a roll of the biological dice. That mist hanging between the pines isn't just water vapor. It is a thick, invisible soup of spores, each one a microscopic scout searching for a way into your bloodstream. You think the air is fresh, but the forest is actually breathing into you, planting the seeds of your own decay before you've even reached the first mile marker. The silence you hear isn't the absence of noise. It is a tactical suppression. The moss, the fungi, and the heavy damp leaves absorb the frequencies of your movement, ensuring that while the forest can hear every snap of a twig beneath your boots, nothing else can hear you. You are being isolated by a collective intelligence that doesn't have a brain, but has a memory that spans eons. Nature isn't your mother. She is a cold, calculating architect of recycling. The vibrant green you admire is nothing more than camouflage for a global slaughterhouse. Every fallen log is a banquet of rot, and every patch of soft earth is a stomach waiting for a new contribution. The trees aren't standing in static beauty. They're locked in a slow-motion war for light and nutrients, strangling each other in total, indifferent silence. Beneath your feet, a trillion miles of fungal mycelium pulse with electrical signals, tracking your weight, your speed, and the rising cortisol in your sweat. To the network, you aren't a human with a life or a name. You are a walking battery of nitrogen and minerals, a rare prize that has wandered too far from the safety of the herd. The forest doesn't attack you with claws, it attacks you with patience. It waits for your muscles to tire, for your senses to dull under the chemical lure of the pheromones it pumps into the air to keep you calm and walking deeper into the trap. You've heard of the people who go missing in the national parks, thousands of them every year, vanishing without a footprint or a struggle. We tell ourselves stories of accidents and predators to keep the fear at bay, but the reality is much darker. They weren't taken, they were integrated. They reached a point where the forest stopped being scenery and started being a directive. The mycelium can hijack the nervous system of a host, mimicking the neurotransmitters that signal comfort and home. By the time they realized they should have turned back, their feet were already moving toward the dampest, darkest part of the grove, driven by a biological urge they couldn't understand. They didn't die in fear. They were digested in a state of chemical euphoria, their bodies slowly replaced by white fibers until they became part of the very ground they stood on. You're walking over a graveyard that doesn't need tombstones because the trees are the monuments to everyone who came before you. Have you ever noticed how the woods seem to echo your own thoughts? That isn't a trick of the acoustics. It's a biological hack. The forest has learned to mimic the frequencies that matter most to you. It starts with the sound of running water when you're thirsty, or the snap of a branch that sounds just like a human footstep when you're lonely. There are organisms within the deep brush that can vibrate their membranes to reproduce the cadence of a distant voice, a call for help, or perhaps just the familiar sound of your own name. They draw you off the path, not with violence, but with the curiosity of a lost child. Every step you take toward that phantom sound is a step further into the digestive tract of the woods. You are being lulled into a state of sensory confusion where the line between your own mind and the collective will of the mycelium begins to blur. The forest doesn't just want your body. It wants your focus because as long as you're looking for a ghost, you aren't looking at the roots slowly coiling around your ankles. The water in these places is the most dangerous trap of all. You see a clear, mountain stream and you think of life, but in the dark wild, water is a delivery system for the swarm. There are hairworms and parasites that live in the freezing depths, waiting for a host to take a single sip. Once inside, they don't just feed, they navigate. They find the vagus nerve and begin to climb, sending signals to your brain that override your survival instincts. They can make you feel a sudden, burning heat even in the middle of a blizzard, forcing you to strip off your clothes and plunge into the ice-cold water. To a bystander, it looks like madness or hypothermia. To the forest, It's just the parasite returning its host to the nursery. Every pond and creek is a liquid brain, a sprawling intelligence that has been drinking the memories of everything that has ever drowned in its embrace. When you drink from the wild, you are drinking the history of everyone who didn't make it back. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, the chemistry of the air changes again. The trees release a different set of volatiles, turning the atmosphere into a heavy, soporific fog that slows your reaction time and blunts your fear. This is the twilight protocol. The forest knows that a panicked prey is a difficult prey, so it sedates you. You feel a strange sense of awe, a spiritual connection to the ancient oaks, but that is merely the neurotoxins hitting your bloodstream. You find yourself sitting down just for a minute to admire the view, unaware that the ground beneath you is already reacting to your body heat. The moss is beginning to pulse, secreting enzymes that will slowly soften your skin before the first thread of mycelium even breaks the surface. You are the fruit of a very old, very patient tree, and the earth is simply waiting for you to become ripe enough to fall. The shadows aren't moving because the light is fading. They are moving because the trees are shifting their weight, closing the gaps behind you, ensuring that the only way left to go is deeper into the dark. The ancient memory of the forest is etched into every layer of sediment and every ring of the oldest oaks. We think of history as something written in books, but the wild writes its history in bones and amber. The mycelium has been archiving the genetic code of every creature that has ever perished in its domain since the dawn of time. It knows how your ancestors ran, how they hid, and how they died. It has solved the puzzle of human biology millions of years ago. You are not a new challenge to the forest. You are a recurring pattern, a familiar sequence of carbon and water that the earth knows exactly how to disassemble. Every fear you feel, that primal urge to run when a shadow moves, is not an instinct from your mind, but a warning from the thousands of generations before you whose remains are now feeding the roots beneath your feet. They are screaming through your DNA, telling you that the green world is not a friend, but a patient predator that has never lost a fight. As the night truly takes hold, the forest begins its most grotesque transformation. This is the stage of biological puppetry. There are species of fungi that do not wait for you to die to begin their work. They enter through the pores of your skin, seeking out the peripheral nerves. They don't kill the host because a dead body is cold and stagnant. They want you moving. They want you breathing. They begin to influence your motor functions, causing subtle twitches, making you walk towards specific clearings where the spore count is highest. You might think you are still in control, that you're simply lost and searching for a way out, but your legs are being steered by a subterranean intelligence that needs you to reach a high point where the wind can catch the stalks that will eventually erupt from your spine. You are becoming a biological broadcast tower, a vessel designed to ensure that the hunger of this specific grove can spread to the next valley and the next until the entire world is a single, breathing lung of rot. The cycle of rebirth in the dark nature is not about life. It is about the continuation of the feast. When a tree falls, it isn't the end. It's a massive injection of resources into the network. And when a human falls, it is a rare, complex surge of energy. The forest will use every part of you. Your calcium will strengthen the shells of the insects that hunt in the canopy. Your iron will color the soil. Your very consciousness, the electrical impulses that once made up your thoughts and memories, will be absorbed into the mycelium. Some believe that the whispers people hear in the woods aren't just echoes or hallucinations, but the actual data of past victims being processed by the network. The forest is a living hard drive, and once you are integrated, your experiences become part of its predatory library. It will use your voice to call out to the next traveler. It will use your face to lull the next child into a false sense of security. Nothing is ever wasted, and nothing is ever truly gone. It is just repurposed for the next hunt. Deep in the heart of the ancient groves, there exists a level of biological warfare that defies everything we know about the boundaries of life. This is the stage of complete structural replacement. Under the cover of total darkness, the forest begins to shed its mask of flora and reveals its true nature as a sprawling, sentient digestive tract. There are orchids in the deep brush that do not photosynthesize. They are white as bone, feeding exclusively on the fungal network that has already claimed a life nearby. They are the vultures of the plant world, and they bloom only when a large mammal has been successfully integrated into the soil. When you see these ghost pipes rising from the dirt, you aren't looking at flowers. You are looking at the forest's victory flags. They signal that the earth beneath them is rich with the fresh breakdown of a complex nervous system. The very ground you are standing on is a living, breathing machine that has processed millions of beings just like you, and it has never once been satisfied. The deeper you go, the more you realize that the trees are not individuals, but limbs of a single, planetary-scale predator. They move with a collective intent that operates on a geological clock, making their movements invisible to the frantic, short-lived humans who stumble into their territory. While you struggle through the undergrowth, the forest is closing the gaps behind you, thickening the brush, and subtly shifting the terrain to ensure you're funneled toward the hollows where the air is stagnant and the rot is thickest. These are the digestion chambers of the wild, places where the wind never reaches and the sun is blocked by a canopy so dense it looks like a ceiling of black lace. Here, the concentration of neurotoxic gases released by the decaying matter is enough to cause forest madness, a state of total disorientation where you forget your name, your purpose, and even the direction of the sky. You aren't losing your mind. It is being surgically removed by the environment to prevent you from finding the exit. In this state of delirium, the forest begins to offer you hallucinations of comfort. It will project images of doors, of lights, of loved ones standing just beyond the next ridge. This isn't your brain failing. It's the mycelium using your own visual cortex against you. It has accessed the data of your memories through the spores you've been inhaling for hours, and it is using that information to guide you toward the softest patches of earth. You will find yourself running toward a light that isn't there, or following a voice that died years ago, until you are exhausted, depleted, and ready to yield. The forest wants your consent, even if it has to manufacture it through a chemical fever dream. It wants you to lie down willingly, to feel like you've finally come home, so that the integration can proceed without the adrenaline that makes meat bitter and tough. You are being tenderized by your own fears, prepared for a feast that has been planned since the first seed fell into the primordial mud. The terrifying truth is that we have never been at the top of the food chain. We have only been allowed to exist in the margins that the forest hasn't claimed yet. Our cities are just temporary clearings that the wild is patiently waiting to reclaim. Every time a root cracks a sidewalk or a vine climbs a brick wall, it is a scout mission for the inevitable takeover. The dark nature isn't a place you visit. It is the fundamental reality of the planet, of a relentless, hungry system that views every technological advancement we make as just another complex mineral to be broken down and recycled. We are like children building sandcastles at the edge of a rising tide, completely unaware that the ocean isn't just water. It is a liquid mind that remembers the taste of everything it has ever drowned. And as the night grows older and your flashlight begins to flicker, you start to understand that the darkness isn't an absence of light, that IT is the presence of something that has been watching you for millions of years, and it is finally ready to eat. As you stand there, paralyzed in the center of the breathing grove, the final realization hits you like a physical blow. The forest isn't just killing you, it's becoming you. You look down at your hands and see the skin beginning to ripple, not from muscle or bone, but from the frantic movement of millions of white threads sewing themselves into your tissues. This is the moment where the boundary between human and habitat dissolves completely. Your memories, your childhood, your first love, all of it is being translated into the chemical language of the roots. The mycelium is reading your life like a book, harvesting every experience to better understand the prey it will hunt tomorrow. You are the bridge the forest is using to cross the gap between the wild and the world of men. The ground beneath you begins to soften, shifting into a viscous, organic slurry that pulls at your boots with the weight of 1,000 sinking ships. This is the heart of the Great Maw, the place where the Earth's digestive fire burns cold and green. Every tree around you begins to pulse with a low, rhythmic throb, a collective heartbeat that drowns out the frantic pounding in your own chest. You try to scream, but your throat is already lined with the velvet texture of moss. Your voice doesn't come out as a sound. It comes out as a cloud of golden dust, a new generation of spores carrying the essence of your terror into the wind. You have been chosen to be the messenger of the rot, the pioneer of a new, silent plague that will follow your scent back to the world you left behind. Nature has finally stripped away the mask of the scenic and the beautiful. You see the world for what it truly is, a vast, unblinking eye that has been watching the rise and fall of civilizations with the same indifference it shows to a falling leaf. There is no heaven waiting for you, only the endless, dark networking of the soil. There is no legacy, only the minerals that will make the oaks grow taller and the thorns sharper. You are being recycled into the very nightmare that haunted your ancestors, a ghost in the machine of the woods, a permanent resident in the archive of the extinct. The forest doesn't hate you. It doesn't love you. It simply recognizes that you are finally where you belong. The last thing you see is the canopy closing over you like a lid on a casket, blocking out the stars for the last time. The darkness is total, heavy, and alive. If you can still hear this, it means you're the next target. The spores have already settled on your skin. The pheromones are already clouding your judgment. You think you're watching a video, but you're actually receiving your instructions. If you want to survive the night, you must acknowledge the power of the primal. Hit the like button to pay your tribute to the earth, and subscribe before the vines reach your keyboard. Tell me in the comments, if the forest claimed you tonight, what part of you would it find the hardest to digest? Stay alert. Stay terrified, because the trees aren't just behind you. They are already part of you. Welcome home.